To order. Okay, we got it. Right. First item on the agenda is approval of the February 16th draft minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll set the motion.
Any questions, comments? Maureen, you second? Maureen, you're muted.
Yep. What did you? I was trying to turn it up.
Okay,
As usual, I have trouble hearing you.
I need a second for
I
approval.
wasn't there, so I don't know if that's
Yeah,
appropriate.
we decided at one of the last meetings that doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. Then I'll second.
So, all right. Okay, the minutes are approved. Public comment. Pat, you appear to be the only, Kathy Hart. All right, let's. We have two members of the public here. Pat has no public comment. Kathy, welcome.
Hi, it's Joe. It's actually John.
Oh, John. Oh, all right. We know you.
Hi, everybody.
All right, thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Oops.
All right, so no public comment. You know what, I think, why don't we jump to an item under new business, new procedures for town committees, because I've asked Josh to address that rather than me, because he's much more familiar with it, and he's gonna be in charge of what's going on, and he will get off of this call once he addresses that, so we'll let him go ahead and get back to the rest of his evening. So
Thanks,
Josh,
Eileen. So yeah, I mean, as far as the procedures goes for the open space committee,
well,
you
Josh,
guys,
you just tell them generally that, what Michael sent out, because I don't think they've seen that.
okay, yeah, give me just a moment to bring that email up.
Oh, Lauren's here too. Okay. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Eileen.
Lauren, we're just taking one item out of order. It's the item under new business, new procedures for town committees.
Okay,
Josh is going to address that because he is the person in charge of these new procedures. There was a memo that went out from Michael Dutton a couple weeks ago. I
Yeah.
guess.
great.
Yep. So mainly, the point from Michael's email was to just improve the communication between not only the committees and the town manager, but the committees, the town council, and the public in general. One thing that we found is we do have some projects that are going on in different committees that other committees don't have any idea that you guys are working on it. So our goal is to really include the chairs of the committees to update us each month for the town manager's operation reports, so that we can get those projects out not only to the town council, but also to other committees, and get it posted on Facebook, get it posted on the website. That way the public knows what's going on as far as grants are getting approved, if you guys are looking for volunteers, things like that. So what we're really trying to do is just the ease of access, organization of the committees, and kind of pulling me from being on each committee as far as their meeting nights go, so that that way I can focus on working on these reports and things like that. So right now we just sent out a new format for the town manager's operational report, and I'm happy to send it to everybody. So that went out on March 3rd. Another one's coming out next week. And this is normally a report that goes out to the town council. And usually it was just kind of bulleted information of what's happening in the town, but What we did was made it more accessible. We broke it down by different departments, and rather than just a page of bullet pointed information, we're just trying to get the things that are happening around town, and then ideally, once we can get the committee chairs together, what are happening in the committees, so that we're getting the right type of participation from the public for these advisory boards.
Okay, so, I know there was that reference, and you mentioned it too, about like bullet points to you. How will that be different than, for instance, the minutes that we're doing?
No, so like I was gonna say is you guys probably won't see much of a change to your your committee procedures. You guys are great. You submit your minutes. You have a secretary, Eileen, that takes care of those minutes and puts the agenda together. I'll always be there for administrative support. So if anybody on the committee has any requests, like when Lauren had the great idea of adding the different parks and everything to your guys' page, or if anybody needs help with documents or getting things submitted, I'll definitely be there to help. So what we're trying to do is get committees away from having extended meeting times, so like excess of an hour. That way, what we're trying to do is promote public interaction. And if the public is coming to a meeting and sitting there for 2 hours to wait for that one item, it can kind of drag on. And we don't want, we'd rather see the interaction and things moving along in more committee meetings than long committee meetings.
Okay.
It's also very helpful to any staff that have to attend. So like Bob, or if Michael's here, things like that. That way they're not here for extended periods of time as well.
All right. So it
So
sounds
yeah,
like-
you guys probably won't see anything change with how your meeting set up. You guys are perfect.
All right, sounds good. All right, so if you want to leave now, I will take it from here and we'll get back to the regular agenda. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Josh.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, bye. Okay, so let's go back to item D, old business, Wyman Meadows, next step. I sent out a draft letter attached, or Josh sent it out with the agenda attached to the agenda. Did you see that, Michael and Maureen and John? Did you get that? And were you able to take a look at it? And do you have any
Yes.
comments, suggestions, questions?
I read it. It sounds fine. I don't-
Okay,
Have anything to add to it.
It's
Michael, you have a
bio.
comment?
Okay. Yeah, I read it and I thought it was really great. I think that I didn't see any issues. I think that highlighting that the town owns the access road, and that the parking situation, if I remember correctly, when I read through it, like I figured that's something that they're going to be concerned about, but it seems like we cover that. So
Okay.
we should be good.
All right. And then the other, and Owen, you were gonna add, Owen sent me a map. Do you wanna screen share that map, Owen? Because I had a question in the letters whether we should send one out, and he thought we should, and it seems to me that that would be worthwhile.
Yeah, sure.
And then while you're pulling that up, on the other thing too is, and Bob, I don't know if you have a feeling about this. Who should sign this? Should it be from Open Space Committee? Wildlands Trust will be on it, of course, so it'll be the Wildlands Trust and some representative of the town, whether it's Open Space. I don't think it needs to be the town manager.
No, I think open space and Wildlands Trust is appropriate.
Okay,
I just have one grammatical correction
all right,
in that third paragraph that starts at the 20-acre water supply. Second sentence, I don't think you start a sentence with but. You could have comma, however, comma.
yeah, okay,
Sorry, that's the journalist in me.
right, okay.
Hey, Eileen, it says screen sharing is disabled.
You have to enable it, Eileen.
Yeah, for him, okay, let me see, all right, let's see, I go to my participants, what do I do?
Now let's go to the screen share button on the bottom.
Yeah.
Hit the
And
up
hit-
arrow and it should enable you to let other
Oh, I see,
people.
okay, all right, oh. On the, share, do I do, no, I don't.
It's on the bottom of the ribbon on the bottom. There should be a green icon that says share screen with an arrow on it.
It has share, just says share.
There you go. No, you want to allow everyone to
Right.
allow more
well,
than one
that's-
person.
All right, no, I'm completely lost.
So you stop sharing
Stop share, yep, stop share,
and then it should say allow multiple participants.
share screen. It says share sound, Zoom meeting, screen, iPhone, iPad, and basic advanced files, so, yeah, I don't know what's,
Are you hitting the green arrow on top of share screen?
yep.
And then what are the prompts? It should say allow more than one or,
You know what I ought to do is share here, this is.
no, you don't want to share your screen. You
Yeah,
don't have a
right, I
screen to
know, well,
share.
I wanted to share it so you can see what I'm getting.
But is that the only command you're
that-
seeing?
That seems to be what's,
There
yeah,
should be
it's-
more than that.
now it says my screen share is loading,
But you're not sharing yours.
yeah, no,
Unless you
I'm
have-
doing something wrong, all right, you know what, I'm going to make, Wildlands Trust a
Co-host.
co-host. Well, I guess I shouldn't have let Josh go as soon as I did.
So if you go into participants, go next to,
Wildlands
just-
Trust,
yeah,
yeah, and
click.
it gives me the three dots, oh yeah, make co-host. I
yeah,
got it.
so
Okay,
hit
yeah,
that and then you can make
yeah,
him
all right,
co-host.
Here we go, all right, you're
And then
co-host,
stop sharing your screen.
Oh, great.
yeah, all right. Okay. I think we got
There
it.
we go.
Okay. So can everybody see this?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just threw this together thinking it might be helpful for the letter.
Yeah,
There's not many abutters, so we won't need to print too many,
right,
which is nice. I wouldn't do this if we had to send it to 100 people, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward, I hope,
Yeah, I think
because being sent to people who have no knowledge about this.
one thing, is, do you think you could put just a marker someplace where the fence is?
The
blocks up-
fence.
I mean, the gate,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, I think that would be helpful, and then
Yeah.
maybe the kiosk, just like a little, an X for the kiosk and an X for the gate,
yeah, absolutely.
okay. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts about the map, anything else to include? No, okay. Sounds good.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Owen. All right, so and then, from, you could gather from the letter, I think the next thing to do is to decide when we want to do this, when we want to send the letter out. I think it can go out, the idea, as we talked about at the last meeting, is we want this to go out well before there's a Conservation Commission, case, before the Concom, so that the idea is to let these people know beforehand. I'm going to be away for a while, but I don't see any reason we can't get it out before the next meeting. Our next meeting is April 20th, is that what I think? Yeah, April 20th. So I will be back around the 7th, and so I'm thinking maybe to send the letter out that week, and then set in the letter itself to tell the butters when the site visit would be. So we will need to pick the date for the site visit also. And I wanted to ask who, like, oh, and I asked you if you had when you would be able to make it or not make it. Whether Saturdays would be better, whether we think Saturdays would get a better response from the neighbors, or maybe late in the afternoon on a weekday. I don't really know. There aren't gonna be that many neighbors. There's not more than a dozen houses there. So it might be, what maybe matters most is when some of us can be there. So the Saturdays following, I think we're April 29th and May 5th. So I guess, Owen, why don't you let me know? I mean, we don't have to pick it right now. Why don't you just let me know what your schedule allows? And then I'll send out a couple of suggested dates, and then we can see who among our members can make it. Does that make sense?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And John, it probably would be good if you were there too. I assume you might like to be there.
Yeah, I would love to be
Yeah,
there. I'd love to
okay.
get a better idea of how the two parks will meet up with each other and the benefits of it, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, all right, so we'll get you to kind of weigh in on what dates could work for you. So why don't we just leave it at that then, and I will finalize the letter and prior to the next meeting, assuming I can get a hearing date agreed to by everybody sometime between after I get back on the 6th and when it has to go in the mail to meet, whatever. What do you think about notice, like 10 days, 2 weeks notice to the abutters before we set the hearing? Does that sound reasonable? Yeah, okay. All right. I think that's it then. Anybody else have any comments or questions on this project or the process? Or Owen, could you speak again? I don't know if it's been a while since we've had any discussion about the costs. Do you have any new estimates or different estimates for the costs?
No, the costs have not changed.
All right, you want to just remind us of what those were again, please?
So let me see if I can get those up.
I have a question. Is there a safe place for people to park if like lots of people show up to the meeting?
I don't think this notice is only going to go out to the abutters, which is that row of houses on Plymouth Street, and then whatever abutters, I suppose it could be on either side, but I mean, Wildlands Trust isn't a butter, for example. I don't know who is on the western side of that property. But so I don't think we're going to get much in the way of any real public input on this or public response for this. I mean, it's more for us to inform those neighbors. And then when it goes before the Conservation Commission, then of course it'll be a public notice. Now, I will have to post this as an open space committee, a formal meeting, because we're looking for more than a quorum of ourselves there. So it is a public meeting, but I don't think we would have a whole lot of people for this. And if we did, I think people could park along the road easily without blocking the road. I mean, you've been out there, Lauren, there's quite a bit of space mowed near the kiosk.
This should be fine. I just was thinking like if there were an overflow.
Right, yeah.
I guess the street would be fine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's one of the things that probably, we don't want overflows there, that's for sure. I mean, but I really think that road can accommodate it if necessary. You wouldn't want that on a regular basis. I think those of us who are going probably ought to arrange to carpool for one thing, just so that we're not bringing all of our individual cars out there. So maybe we can arrange to meet someplace before we go out and cut down on that. But really, I haven't been out there in a couple months. I don't know, have you been out recently, Owen? I mean, is somebody still parking that circular area?
I haven't been out.
You haven't been, Lauren, there has been an area that somebody has been mowing quite regularly that actually allows for quite a few cars to park, probably 3 or 4 on a circular, that's just kind of a ring that somebody's. So we should check beforehand and make sure that is mowed probably. And
Yeah.
Because that would cut down on the available space that I'm thinking of, so.
It should be clear. Last time I was in there, it's very clear. It's just a little wet in that area.
Oh, okay, all right, good, all right.
I'll take a ride by tomorrow too to check it.
Oh, good, okay, perfect. Okay,
So the cost is just over $400
yeah, all right,
to get a trail up and running there.
Yeah.
So that's just one bridge and a couple bog boards.
yeah,
That's
all
all
right.
we really need. That's, signage and everything else will
Yeah, that'll
be
come later,
separate,
yeah.
but and also, Eileen, I was wondering for the letter, I don't remember if you do or not, but is it do you think it would be useful to mention that Wildlands will be the main stewards of both properties as far as the trail and amenities go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that certainly needs to come up in the meeting. And, because that is crucial, I'm sure people, I mean, that's the first question we got from our own DPW, was who's gonna take care of this? I could put it in the letter, I mean, I was trying to keep the letter fairly short to,
Sure.
so that they'll come with their questions as opposed to reading something and which may or may not satisfy their concerns, so that was sort of my thinking, is just keep it one page,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, I will, let me write a note, I'll look at it and see if there's some way to mention that.
Well, it can be easily explained in person. So
Yes, right, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's. Yeah, I mean, I know we're gonna have good answers for any of those questions. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it just. Can't imagine it'd be a big concern, so, okay.
Good.
Anything else, anyone? All right. Let's move on to the next item is the Bridgewater State Forest update. I finally did get a response from somebody, and it was, it took a couple of emails back and forth between two people within the state forestry department, but I did get the response to this link. And basically, if you had a chance to read it, there's really not a whole lot going on at that property, and there isn't expected to be anything going on. The way it's the language in that paragraph, if you have read it, that this was historically a working forest with tree plantations and at least one commercial harvest, which I think happened in the 1926 or something, and then there was one related to a hurricane at some point where there were a lot of downed trees. Then it says that its parkland landscape designation prohibits commercial timber harvesting. And there was a link within that description that State Forest update that mentioned the parkland landscape designation, where that was on the state website, to explain how the one arrived at those different. I couldn't find it. I didn't get it to work. Did anybody else try to make that link and get it to work? I couldn't figure out where the parklands designation came from. I will look into that further. But anyway, it says the future tree cutting is restricted to supporting recreation and ameliorating public safety hazards, neither of which there are any there as far as we know. It's a small, little known property with no infrastructure and few known recreational uses. It helps protect the quality of water entering Southbrook and functions as protected open space for adjacent residential development. So it sounds, and then the person that I spoke to on the phone, he was just pretty adamant, well, that one thing, the parklands designation, whatever that means within the context of how the state characterizes forests, would prohibit logging, but that this property would be so low on the state's list of anything that would be worthwhile to log, or that requires logging for any management purposes, that really the logging they're doing now is he mentioned what's the big park in Plymouth, the Mount Standish, that they're doing some logging there, but it's really more to preserve habitat or to blowdowns and that sort of thing. So he just seemed to think it was beyond the realm of any possibility that there would be any cutting in this property in the future. That said, I still think it'd be nice to get out there and see it sometime, and someone, I think, told me, I don't know if it was on our group or somewhere else, that there was a connecting trail to the BSU hiking trails over by the commuter parking lot, those parking areas, the hiking trails that go up near that parking area, and that there was a connection that when you go down one of those, you end up in this Bridgewater State Forest. So it might be worth taking a look at sometime and just see if there could be a trail connection there that we might promote in some way. And Michael and John, I think if you are both going to be at that meeting on the 28th, the Parks and Trails Roundtable discussion. Who's the person? Is it John Renendez? John Hart, do you know who he is? The guy who's in charge of the forests over at BSU, the trails?
There was a gentleman there at the last quarterly meeting.
Right.
Dan,
Yeah,
Dan
I
Resendez.
don't remember his name either, but anyway, if either of you are both at that, you might look him up, because I think, we could connect with him sometime and maybe just walk his trails. And have you walked those, John? Oh, Maureen, do you know?
Yeah, it's Dan Resendez.
Dan Resendez, that's it. Okay. All
Yeah,
right,
I have walked those trails many, many times. And usually when we enter those trails, we enter them from Water Street, which is the trail I think you're talking about that connects with the state forest.
Yes. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you're familiar with them. Anyway, that's just something to think of, whether there's, some connections that we could make there to make that an accessible trail if it looks feasible. So anyway, you could bring that up with Dan Renendez if you're at that meeting and happen to see him.
Okay,
All right. Okay, so let's see. Nicole has not joined. And and what happened to Pat? Pat Hart Pat Neary is also on the tree committee now, and she had told me that there was a meeting sometime within the last couple days. And so I was hoping that Nicole would be here to tell us if anything had happened that we should know about, but Nicole isn't here, and Pat could have filled us in, but she's gone for some reason, so we will skip that item. All right, let's move on to old business item 4, the Open Space Network Conference. Michael agreed to sit in on last week's session, or whenever it was, a couple weeks ago, I guess now, the 4th session of that conference, which was on Biomap. And Michael, are you gonna give us a little show and tell? about
Yeah, absolutely.
Biomap? Right.
Yeah, could you make me
Oh,
a
okay, so now I need to
co-host?
go through this again. All right. Yeah.
No worries.
All right. So let me see, participants. Participants. Michael. Okay, you are co-host.
There we go. All right, let me pull it up. All right. So this was actually a really great, discussion by the folks about how the biomap works. And I thought it was really great because, it was kind of framed that this could be utilized by the Open Space Committee to help open space planning and conservation in Bridgewater. Obviously, it was for the state at large, but still was really great. The facilitators, Alec and Sarah, really did a great job breaking down how everything worked. And I thought it'd be really great for everybody to know just kind of like the idea that they had around this, or their vision for the biomap is based on helping with carbon sequestration, maintaining the wildlife habitat, flood mitigation, health and recreation for everybody in the Commonwealth, and ensuring that we all have fresh and safe drinking water. And thinking in the broader spectrum of how all of these items are related to adapting to, dealing with, and thriving within an environment of climate change. So I thought that was a really great way for them to kind of lead into it. And what's really great is we have a really rich resource, which is a website, it's mass.gov/biomap. And it's broken down for people who don't know into components. And those individual components make up the core habitat in our natural landscape. And within those core habitats are species, forests, the aquatics, wetlands, vernal pools, natural communities. Wetlands are in the natural landscape, aquatic habitats, coastal adaptation areas like marshes, offshore habitat, things like that. And this is all really, really rich, great information that can be used in tandem with the biomap itself. As you can see, there is a version of the biomap that lives embedded in the page. But what I like to do is use the actual full blown out one, which is an option that you can click on. So you click on the biomap, it brings you here. You have a tray where it shows you a legend and it populates all of the other options as you add to it. So all in all, it shows core habitat and critical natural landscape for the state. So if we want to go and look deeper into what it looks like in Bridgewater, you can go up here and you can type in Bridgewater. It's basically pulling, it's only supposed to be pulling within the state, but they said that they're still working through some kinks with this most recent update. So you can see here that it is pulling some information from all across the country. So yeah, so it was suggested to be go with this first one off the top instead of going deeper. So but that will be hopefully solved soon. I found a really quick way to use this is your location setting. So if I just hit my location, it brings me right into Bridgewater, and then it overlays all the information. Yeah, so as you can see in the legend, core habitat is the darker green and critical landscape or natural landscape is the lighter green. And we can actually pull out a tray here, which is listed as select data.
Wait,
And-
okay, I see what you did, okay, all right.
Yep, this little tray right
Yeah,
here that looks
That's
like
the
three
tray
sections.
and whatever you're looking for, okay.
Yep, and then you can actually filter this. These are really powerful filters where you can actually dig in and look at the permanently protected open spaces of the area. And those are actually then added to the legend over here. So whenever you click on something over here in the data set, it grows and adds itself to the map as well, which is really helpful. So all of these sections within the within Bridgewater and the surrounding areas that are protected have this this gray outline with the slashes in between it.
Mhm.
And then once you get into core habitat components, you can actually filter through those. Stuff is not really populating there at the moment, but this is what it would look like when they are populated. They'll show up in colors and spaces around that area. The one that I did notice that was actually loading is under regional components, if I remember correctly. Where is it not doing it? It was doing it earlier. Also, it's still a little buggy when you zoom. It takes a second, but
Mhm.
it gets there. Let's see. That's really odd. It was doing it before. See, it's not just everybody. Let's try this again. I tested this before we started too. There we go. It loaded. It took a second. So
Okay.
you can actually see laid out across the map, within the boundaries of Bridgewater, all of the items like wetlands, the wetland buffers, vernal pools, rare species, and aquatic habitats. And I thought this can be really helpful when we're potentially looking at places that could become protected areas or for proposals. So I think it has a really great use case for our committee, which is great. What's really great is we can also break down that area by assessor parcels, so we can understand who is, sorry, it just moved all on its own. We can see who is in what area, and very easily target, like say we were going to be sending out a letter to the folks about what we're doing over at the Meadows. We could actually just go right here, find the location, and figure out exactly what the parcel number is if we ever need to use that. So that's really helpful. The other really helpful tool here as well is we can actually create if I can remember correctly, I think we can create a PDF with all of these areas based off of this information and create a summary. And we can use draw mode, which is basically picking an area when it behaves. And then we can, if you would stop, if the point would connect, that would be great. So we can do that, and then we can generate a report and list out all of the things that we want to appear on this map. So if we want to make sure we have all these items that we checked off, we can then hit print. And then when it prints, it actually opens in another tab, and it gives you a summary of all of the information that you need. So within that block of area, it tells you the aquatic buffer, it gives you a map, it gives you a legend, and it gives you a scale. And it's just really helpful in digging in and figuring out the details of what the habitat is like in our area. And you can also name it something else. You have the power to edit this PDF and then actually print it to your printer or save it to your computer. And that's basically it.
So how new is this? Has this been around for a year or two or 3, or are they still refining it? Is it a finished product or?
It's a great question. So they said that this is a revision of an already existing product. And the new features that were added were local data is now overlaid over the existing data. And also things are broken down by landscape blocks. And they're also starting to use municipal level data in local landscapes. So that one of the different elements of the biomap.
Okay.
And their goal is to really start digging into this and hoping folks on committees are going to be using it. What I thought was really great is that they are extremely accessible about this. And they said that consultations and meetings are available from them if you would like to reach out, and they will talk to you about its regional use and other ways that it can be utilized by by open space committees. And yeah, it was a really great overview by them. So I was really happy to attend it.
Yeah, I asked the question just because I know there have been lots of mapping programs that they've been working on for a while. I mean, I know I've seen some myself. I've never really known how to use them, but I wasn't sure if this was something brand new. But it sounds like it is an addition to an enhancement of something similar that they continue to improve and
Yes.
So, okay.
Yep. Absolutely. And they actually have a really great how-to. I was scrolling through here. About how you're digging into the data, how everything works, all the different functions. And as you scroll, it will give you highlights basically of, how all of this information is broken down. So they've made it really accessible and understanding that not everybody has a leg up and understands how all of this mapping works or how parsing the data works and whatnot. And they also have a really good breakdown of all the things that have been added to the biomap, which is really great, and it simplifies it for folks. So they
Oh,
have
okay,
very
okay.
clear understanding.
Yeah, okay. All right, anybody have any questions for Michael? Thank you for attending that. I know you can make it much more useful to us than I ever could, so we will consider you our biomap expert from hereafter.
Sounds good. Yeah. And I was going to say, if anybody wants to get any more like firsthand information, obviously we can reach out and facilitate a consultation with them, but also their meetings for this are up on YouTube. So I was able to, after the meeting, go back and take like really nice detailed notes and make sure I was explaining everything correctly. So.
Okay, all right. All right, so this leads me directly into the next item, which is chapter 61 properties. So one of my questions is, can we identify chapter 61 properties under the bio map, Michael? Now, I
That
don't
is
know
a
if you
good
even know what
question.
chapter 61 properties are, so why don't you go back in there and see if it will pull those up for you?
I am, so what is I'm
Chapter
not,
61 property is property that, rather than, it's something used for agricultural, forest or farm, there's a third category. Rather than being taxed at its market value, it's taxed as a lower value to encourage it to be used in its current state. And so we have we have looked at the chapter 61 properties in Bridgewater before. Lauren pulled this information together back in June of 2021, I think it was. And we got the maps from the assessor's office. I got those, and then she looked at where they were, if they had been listed in the open space plan from 2017, I think, and how many of them were still chapter 61 properties. So we had an updated list as of a couple years ago, and we didn't take it any further as far as taking a look at those properties and seeing if they are valuable for any open space purposes. Are they adjacent to any current open space, any other habitat? And I'd like to take it the next step now, and I'm hoping that map could be useful. And Lauren, are you there?
I am. I think the biomap would be a lot more useful because I was trying to work off of the town's really slow website of parcels. And so I think this would be a huge improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I was hoping is, Lauren, would you be able to take another look at those? Because my recollection is, in fact, it wasn't just my recollection, it was in the minutes, was that there were really only like 6 or 7 property holders that were the owners of all of the chapter 61 properties in Bridgewater. And
yeah, it was just a handful.
yeah. So it would be interesting if you could update that and just see if they are still the owners, see if there's been any change in ownership since you looked at it before. And then
The tax assessor should be able to generate that list for you.
yeah, that was where I got it the first time, I think. But then, yeah, I don't know, Lauren, you took it the next step. I don't know how you did that, but.
You won't be able to drop it into the biomap unless you can get that map in a shape file. I mean, that's how those layered GIS maps work. And I doubt that we have the capability within town to create a shape file.
Okay.
I was gonna say, if we have the information, you can actually search at the address level on the biomap. So, and we could generate a PDF for each of those and then just create basically a directory of all of this and kind of like have it on hand if we wanted to. So if there was only a handful of properties that are available that are potential leads, we could absolutely just put their info into the biomap and overlay it and actually zoom in and save it and get all of that pertinent information.
Okay, that sounds like a task for Michael and Lauren, and I can't tell if they need your input or not, Bob.
I think they're capable.
Okay, all right, well, good. So I would, Lauren and Michael, I'd like you two to work on this and figure out how we can update the list and how we can look at a map and determine who among these 6, 7 property owners it might be worth contacting, just to remind them that, you know, maybe that they have some property that might be of benefit in use as open space at some point or something, and just take a look at it and see if there's anybody that falls in that category. That was one of the things I got out of the earlier sessions of this conference, and I mean, we had always intended to do it, we just didn't follow up on it. And it was, you know, to reach out to Chapter 61 property owners and put the bug in their ear that they might consider some sort of conservation donation to the town, and transfer of some sort of restrictions or CR or something. But so I'm hoping that you two can coordinate and figure out what can be done, and report back to us when you have some results. Does that sound workable?
I need to get oriented with the new software to sort of see how that works for myself, but yeah, I'm willing to take that on with Michael.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I won't put it on the April agenda unless you tell me that you have a report to make. But let's say at least by the May meeting, you would be able to ideally tell us whether it'd be worth sending a letter. Maybe that's sort of the next point where we would have to take some action. Or
Yeah, I think the May meeting will be more realistic for initial thing, because the next month it's pretty busy for me at work.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would aim for May.
Yeah, that's a goal, you know, if you just, I don't know about you, I work better under deadlines, so, and if you can't do that, of course, this has been an ongoing project for a while. I don't think there's anything of immediate importance, but you never know, so. Anyway, thank you. We'll look forward to hearing more
Sure.
about that, and I hope to play with this myself a little bit in the meantime. All right, if I get frustrated, Michael, I may give you a call.
No worries. Sounds good.
Okay. Let's go down under new business. We already talked about the new procedures for town committees. So I just wanted to mention this Supreme Judicial Court decision on meetings, just because I thought it was very interesting. There was, I don't know, did anybody see this? There was some press on it. There was an article in the Boston Globe. There was a WBUR report on this case. Did anyone see it? I was going to try and put in the chat room. All right, here's the
Do you
link.
want me to summarize it, Eileen?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. And here's the link. I just sent the link to the Boston Globe article so you can all read that. But yes, Bob, go ahead. That would be great.
So just as you have on your agenda, you have public comment. You're not, public meetings under the Open Meetings Act aren't obligated to have public comment. But when you have public comment, it's important that there's some ground rules that are established. So typically, if it was a town council meeting, public comment would be that somebody wants to talk about Christmas lights in August. It's not an agenda item for anything else that night, but they would like to have Christmas lights in August. So in this case, it was in Southborough, Mass. They opened it up to public comment with absolutely no guidelines as to what people could talk about or how long they could talk. and a member of the community that attends public meetings there on a regular basis had some conspiracy theories about some members of the town council or board of selectmen, I can't remember which, and, accused them of being Hitler-like. And they asked to have her physically removed from the meeting. And she filed a complaint that it was in violation of the open meetings law because she wasn't allowed to speak at public comment. And the Supreme Judicial Court found in her favor because of the fact that no rules had been established, that, theoretically she could have talked for hours if she wanted to, because, the town council, whatever the convening board is, typically would say you have 2 minutes, you have 3 minutes, you have 5 minutes. You can only talk about this at this point. If you're going to say something that somebody else said already, we're going to cut you off. But they didn't do any of that. So I think for some communities, it makes them kind of go back and look at what Robert's rules of order are for conducting public meetings, and thinking twice about whether they even want to have public comment, because this kind of went sideways and it didn't have to. I mean, I think she was completely out of line with what her comments were, but the court found, well, she's not out of line because you never established what the rules for what she said, could say or couldn't say was. So.
Yeah, one of the things that was particularly noteworthy too is that, I mean, they went back to John Adams and at the time Massachusetts was creating its constitution, people were allowed to say what they wanted to about the king. And what they were fighting for was the right to do that. And so the Supreme Judicial Court went back as far as that. They were to say that that's what was being protected here, that these were, that fighting words are not protected, but that is very narrowly drawn. And this town had actually adopted what they call the civility code, which barred slanderous comments about public officials. And the state court, the Supreme Judicial Court, said you could not have such a code, that basically you don't have to allow comment, as Bob said, but you can't keep people from saying what they want to say. That, I mean, there are very few limits, that if you're slandering, if you're being accused of slandering the board in question, or just being rude, loud, boisterous, whatever, that's okay. That's what we were protecting. That's what the Mass Constitution was protecting against. So they basically said that the local policy that the Southborough Select Board was relying on was just thrown out. That policy was not valid. It violated the Constitution. The other thing that I thought was really scary too is they also said that this particular congressman or council person violated the civil rights law against this individual, and he's personally liable for any damages arising out of the litigation. I thought that was quite chilling for local officials. But anyhow, I recommend you read it, because I just found it so interesting that we go through these meetings. We have these meetings on almost a daily basis at the town level, and to see it connected back to this historical foundation, I just found very interesting, and I thought you would too. So anyway.
Here he.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Oh yeah, so Michael and John, I think you're going to both be at the Parks and Roundtable discussion on the 28th. Of course, anyone else is welcome to go. Maureen, you might enjoy that. I will not be there.
Yeah, I plan on going.
You plan on going? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna be a
And-
party.
What was that?
Says it's gonna be a party.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, no, I don't, because then I'd be sorry I missed it. So. All right, so anyway, I think that's it. And if you can all plan on reporting on that on the next meeting, which is April 20th. And I'm going to be out of town for a while, so I don't expect to be working on any of this stuff for a while, starting Saturday. So that's it. We are adjourned. Oh, no, motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll
All those in
second it.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are
Aye.
adjourned. It is 7:58 PM.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Eileen.
everybody. Bye.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.